Welcome to Daily Life Connection as we continue to explore who God is and what difference it makes in our lives. I trust it is making a difference in your relationship with God. That's my passion and my goal and my prayer for these talks that we're having each day, that it will lead us into that deeper, richer relationship with our Father, because that is so foundational to our spiritual journey and to experiencing the life and the glory of God Himself. We've been talking about Luke chapter 24 and that story of the disciples on the Emmaus Road. I'm going to continue talking about that a little bit. It says He came and drew near to them, Jesus did, and listened to their questions and listened to their despair. He listened to them first. I love that about Jesus in this passage, that He's the God who listens. And he doesn't just listen to us when we get it right. He's the God who just listens. Now, I can't imagine that their conversations were very uplifting. They've lost hope. Well, they said, well, we'd hoped this, and don't you even know what's going on? And they're just down. This is not a conversation where Jesus would be going like, wow, this is great, awesome, guys. No, He's listening to some complainers and some doubters and some people walking in fear and hopelessness and darkness. But He listens. I love that. He didn't jump right into a lecture. He said, what are you discussing with each other? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I love that picture of God that we see in Jesus. A God who listens. A God who listens. I've heard that phrase, and I think I've shared it with you guys before, giving someone the dignity of attention. Jesus was amazingly good at that, and that is a reflection of who God is. He gives you and I the dignity of attending to our concerns, our conversations, whether they're verbal or whether they're internal and mental. He wants to know. He wants us to share with Him. Jesus is all-knowing. He could have just said, well, I know what you guys are talking about, and let me just jump in here and straighten this out for you. But He doesn't. He walks along with them, listening to their complaints, listening to their disappointment. Like they're basically saying, this Jesus didn't perform for us like we thought He would. God isn't doing what we expected Him to do or what we wanted Him to do. And Jesus isn't put off by that. He just listens to them as they walk along. He gives them the dignity of attention. He hears them out. That's good news for you and I today. I think sometimes we come to God in prayer or whatever, and we almost are hesitant to share with Him our concerns and our disappointments and yes, even our disappointments with Him. God, why haven't you done this? God, I don't understand why this is going on. And then we feel guilty. We feel like I should trust Him in everything. I should trust Him more. But He doesn't admonish these people for their lack of faith. He walks with them and listens to them. He hears their heart. I love that about our God. Our God, it says, in the Old Testament, in the Psalms, He knows that we're weak. He knows what we're made of. And He takes that into account. It's not an excuse to be a complainer and a whiner, but it's simply an encouragement to say that our God will listen to us. It does not bother Him to hear what our heart is really feeling at the moment. In fact, I am totally convinced He would rather us to be honest and say, God, I'm really struggling with this. I don't understand this about you or about this situation or whatever. And to just be honest about it, than to put on a false face and oh God, I just trust you with my life. And I think it's when we are honest with our God, know that He listens to us, that we do end up saying, I will trust you. That we come to a better place when we know He's listening to us, if that makes sense to you today. So I just encourage you. If you're going through those times, don't hold back. Don't pretend it's not the way it is. As human beings, we go through those times, and they're really difficult, and they're stressful, and they're discouraging, and they can seem black, and the tunnel can seem very long with no light at the end. In fact, for these two walking down this road, it felt like the end of the tunnel caved in, and there's not even any way out. But he listens, the God who listens. So as you shared today, I'm not saying, dump on God, but I'm just saying be honest with him about where you are in your spiritual journey, what you're feeling in your heart, what you're struggling with. He is not a God put off by that in the least. He is a God who welcomes you and I to talk, and he is an exceptionally good listener. God bless. We'll talk again tomorrow.